ओम अज्ञानं तिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वरूपं कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुवैष्णवं च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सैगन्धगुणातवितं तं सजीवं साधवेतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदां सैगन्धललिता श्रीविशाखवितं च नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पार्षदे सुतारिणे। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपेकांत राधा कांत नमस्ते तप्त कंचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वच्च कल्पतरु वैश्च कृपा सिंधु एव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। So moving to the ninth morning walk, May 13, 1973. Dr. Singh. The scientists have no information that there is evolution up or down from the human platform. Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, I say they are rascals. They have no knowledge, yet they still claim to be scientists. Real science is in the Bhagavad Gita when Krishna says, Yanti deva vrata devam Pitam yanti pitra vrataha. Bhagavad Gita chapter 9 shloka 25. This means whatever one worship in this life will determine the type of body he gets in his next life. But if one worships Krishna, he ends up the process of time's migration entirely. Yam prapyana nivartante tadadhama. When one goes to that supreme abode of mind, he never returns to this material world of birth and death. Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, shloka 21. Promotion of the spiritual world. Sam siddhim pramamam is the ultimate perfection of human life. Read Bhagavad Gita and everything is there. But the scientists have no idea of this perfection. They do not even believe in the existence of living entity apart from the gross body. Dr. Singh. They do not speak of the living entity, they speak only of bodies. Student. Their conception is something akin to Buddhism. The Buddhists say that the body is like a house, just as a house is put together with the wood, the body is put together with chemicals, and when the body dies, it is just like a house that falls apart. Just as the house becomes simply a piece of wood and then there is no more house, so the body becomes simply chemicals and there is no more body and no more life. That state is called nirvana. And then when the ingredients you can build another house or another body, that is Buddhism. The Buddhists do not have any information regarding the soul, destiny and karma. Student, some scientists argue that there are several souls within each body. They use the earthworm as an example. If you cut it in half, both parts will live. They say this proved that two souls occupied the original worm's body. Srila Prabhupada. No, it is simply that a new soul has come to occupy the other half of the worm's body. Dr. Singh. Must the spirit soul necessarily have a body, either spiritual or material? Srila Prabhupada. The soul already has a spiritual body, which the material body covers. My material body groans upon me, my spiritual body, but my material body is unnatural. The real body is spiritual. I'm accepting various bodies that are unnatural to my constitution. My real constitution position is to be servant of Krishna. As long as I do not come to that position, I remain a servant of matter and get many material bodies according to the laws of material nature. I get one body and then give it up. I desire something else and again get another body. This process is going on under the strict laws of material nature. People think they completely control their destinies, but they are always under nature's law of karma. प्रकृते क्रियमाणानि गुणय कर्माणि सर्वसा अहंकार विमुक्त में कर्तामिति manyate. The bewildered spirit soul under the influence of three modes of material nature think himself to be the doer of activity that are in actuality carried out by nature. Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, sloka 27. The source of this bewilderment is that the living entity thinks I am this body. Ishwar sarva bhutaram hridesha desharjuna tishtati brahmayam sarva bhutani yantrarudhani maya. Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, sloka 61. In this word, the word yantra or the machine means that in any species of life we are traveling in bodies that are like machines provided by material nature. Sometimes we are moving to higher species, sometimes to lower species, but if by the message spiritual master and Krishna, one gets the seeds of devotion service and cultivates it, he can become free from the cycle of birth and death. Then his life is successful, otherwise he has to travel up and down the different species of life, becoming sometimes a blade of grass, sometimes a lion, and so forth. Advertising ignorance as knowledge. Student, so it is our desire to enjoy that cause us to take on this material bodies and our desire to achieve Krishna that bring us to our natural position. Srila Prabhupada, yes. Dr. Singh, but there seems to be a constant struggle with our lower nature. We are constantly fighting our desires for sense gratification, even though we want to serve Krishna. Does this continue? The student, the body is almost like a dictator from within. Srila Prabhupada, yes. That means you are strongly under the control of material energy or Maya. Dr. Singh, even though we also desire to serve Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, yes, a thief may know that if he steals, he will be arrested and put into jail. He may even see others being arrested, yet he still steals. Even though he is aware that he is under the authority of the state, he still acts according to his desires. This is called tamas or ignorance. Therefore, knowledge is the beginning of the spiritual life. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives Arjuna knowledge. He teaches, you are not this body. This is the beginning of knowledge. But where is the university that teaches this knowledge, Dr. Singh? Can you tell me where that university is that teaches you this knowledge? Dr. Singh, none. Srila Prabhupada, that is a position of education. There is no knowledge. They simply advertise ignorance as knowledge. Dr. Singh, but if the scientists knew that they were not their bodies, their whole outlook would change. Srila Prabhupada, yes, we want that. Student, but they don't want to admit their failure. Srila Prabhupada, then that is further foolishness. If you are a fool and you pose yourself as intelligent, that is further foolishness. Then you cannot make progress. And if you remain in ignorance and advertise yourself as a man of knowledge, you are a great cheater. You are cheating yourself and cheating others. People are so mad after the material advancement of civilization that they have become exactly like cats and dogs. For instance, they have set up an immigration department, and as soon as you enter a country, these dogs go woof, woof, woof. Why have you come? What is your business? This is watchdogs activity. A first-class gentleman is being searched for a revolver. People cannot be trusted. Now there are so many educated wrongs and thieves. So what is the meaning of advancement? Can we say that education means advancement? Is this civilization? Fighting ignorance with arguments and knowledge. Student. Some people say that one reason for the Vietnam War was that the communists were atheists. It was a dispute between the theists and the theists. At least that is one excuse given of the war. Srila Prabhupada, we are also prepared to kill the atheists, but that killing is by preaching. If I kill your ignorance, it can also be called killing. Killing doesn't necessarily mean that everyone has to take the sword. Dr. Singh, a new method of warfare. Srila Prabhupada, no. Fighting ignorance with arguments and knowledge has always existed. The bodily conception of life is animal life. The animal does not know about the matter in spirit, and one who is under the bodily conception of life is no better than an animal. When an animal talks and tells and when laughs, such talk is nonsense. The animal is not talking knowledge. At least the animals live by certain codes. They do not kill unnecessary, and they only eat what necessary, whereas human kills unnecessarily and eat unnecessarily. So, in one sense, humans are lower than animals. Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, we must suffer more than animals. Krishna consciousness is not a bogus, sentimental religious movement. It is a scientific movement designed to alleviate human suffering. Dr. Singh, scientists and other people say that everything in the universe is happening by chance. Srila Prabhupada. So are they also writing books on the subject by chance. Karandhar. The books are also written by chance. They say, Srila Prabhupada. So what is the credit? By chance, anything can be written. Dr. Singh, the French scientist Dr. J. Monod got the Nobel Prize in 1965. He says that everything started by chance, that by chance certain chemicals combined and formed the basic molecules. Srila Prabhupada, but where did the chemicals come from? Dr. Singh, according to him, they were simply created by chance, and the necessity arose, molecules of the chemicals reoriented themselves. If everything was Srila Prabhupada, if everything was happening by chance, how can there be necessity? How can he speak of chance and necessity in the same breath? It is nonsense. If everything is directed by chance, why do people send their children to school? Why not let them grow up by chance? And suppose I break a law, if I say, well, it is just happened by chance, will I be excused? Dr. Singh. So is crime caused by ignorance? Srila Prabhupada. Yes, that is a cause. My ignorance, student. It would certainly be stupid to say that a beautiful instrument like a violin was made by a chance. Srila Prabhupada. Yes, it is more regrettable that such a rascal can get recognition. He's talking foolishness and getting recognition. Hare Krishna. So we have completed the 9th morning walk. And, we are moving to the next morning walk. The 10th morning walk, May 14, 1973. Srila Prabhupada is accompanied by Dr. Singh and others. The scientist mistake. The scientific mistake is that they're ignorant of two energies, material and spiritual. They said that everything is material and that everything emanates from matter. The defect in their theories is that they began from matter instead of spirit. Since matter comes from spirit, in a sense, everything is spiritual. The spiritual energy is the source and can exist without the material energy. But the material energy has no existence without the spiritual energy. It is correct to say that darkness begins from light and not that light begins from darkness. Scientists think that consciousness comes from matter. Actually, the consciousness always exists, but when it is covered or degraded by ignorance, it is a form of unconsciousness. So, material means forgetfulness of Krishna, and spiritual means consciousness of Krishna. Is this clear? Try to understand. Darkness comes from light. When no light is visible, then we are in darkness. Clouds are not to be found in the sun. That would be against the nature of the sun. But the energy of the sun, other things are temporarily created, such as mist, clouds, or darkness. These creations are temporary, but the sun remains. Similarly, material nature is temporary, but spiritual nature is permanent. Krishna consciousness means getting out of this temporary nature and attaining a permanent spiritual nature. No one actually wants this temporary nature. No one likes this cloudy atmosphere. Dr. Singh, is this cloudy consciousness created from spiritual energy? Srila Prabhupada, yes. Dr. Singh, and matter is also created from superior energy. Srila Prabhupada, Aham sarvasya parabhavo mataha sarvam parvartarte. Krishna says, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. Bhagavad-gita chapter 10, Shloka 10. Chapter 8, Shloka 10. Krishna is the creator of everything, bad or good. Actually, bad or good is a material creation. Krishna's creation is good. Good is God. What you think is bad is good. What you think is bad is good for God. Therefore, we cannot understand Krishna. He is doing something that in our consideration may be bad, but for him there is no such thing as good as or bad. For example, Krishna married 16,000 wives. Some people may criticize, he's so mad after women. But they do not see the whole picture. Krishna's power is so great that he expanded himself into 16,000 different husbands. Everything is one. Is nonsense, Dr. Singh. You said this mist of material nature is temporary, but why should we bother to dis entangle ourselves from something transitory? Srila Prabhupada, why do you put coverings on your body? You may walk naked, the weather will clear in few hours. Why do you cover yourself, Dr. Singh? The danger is now, Srila Prabhupada. Whether it may be, do you think this type of covering your body, Dr. Singh, to avoid discomfort? Srila Prabhupada, yes, otherwise you would be uncomfortable. Not to bother to dress in this Mayavadi theory, everything will come automatically. So why bother? Everything is one. It is nonsensical theory. Mayavadi philosophy is that God is one and that everything and every living being is equal to God. We have no quarrel with the chemists if they begin from life. But unfortunately, they say that everything begins from darkness. They admit it. That is what we object to. We say begin from life and then say no, begin from matter, darkness. The reason they are in darkness is simple. If one goes from darkness to light, he thinks that darkness is a beginning. Suppose you have been in darkness of all your life, and now suddenly you have come into light. You will think, oh, light has come from darkness. Actually, the darkness occurs when light becomes dim. Darkness does not produce light. Dr. Singh, the darkness is dependent on light. Srila Prabhupada, yes. Or in other words, in the light there is no darkness. When the light is dim, then we experience darkness. Similarly, when our spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness is dim, our consciousness is material. And in the morning, we awaken, and at the end of the day, we become tired and go to sleep. When life is somehow or other interrupted, we sleep. We sleep at night, and when we get up in the morning, we understand that our wakefulness of life has not come into existence from the sleepy condition. I was alive even while I slept, and on awakening, I'm still alive. This should be clearly understood. A baby comes from the womb of his mother. He thinks that his life has begun from the day he comes out of the womb. But that is not a fact. Actually, he is eternal. He constructed his material body within the womb of his mother while he was unconscious. And as soon as his bodily feature was sufficiently developed, he came out of the womb and again to consciousness. Dr. Singh, and he again falls asleep at dead. Srila Prabhupada. Yes, that is described in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, shloka 19. Bhuta gramahasa eva yam utva bhutva parhityate pratrayage vasaparte prabhavati aharagami. Again and again the day comes, and the host of the beings is active, and again night falls. O Parth, they are helplessly dissolved. We are not these bodies, Srila Prabhupada. We are not this body, Srila Prabhupada. Do you see this flower? It has come back to consciousness, and soon it will dry up and die. Soon it will dry up and die. This is material life. What spiritual life means to flower only? No, dissolution. It is a difference between matter and spirit. I have achieved this body according to my consciousness in my last life, and I will receive my text body according to consciousness in this life. This is also confirmed with Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, shloka 6. Yam yam vapi swaran bhavam tajate ante kalevaram tam tam yavati kontaya sada tad bhava bhavitah. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, the state he will attain without fail. Dr. Singh, Srila Prabhupada, if our next body is always achieved by our consciousness in this life, how is that I cannot remember my previous life? Srila Prabhupada, do you remember everything you did last year or even yesterday? Dr. Singh, no, I don't. Srila Prabhupada, this is your nature, you forget. Dr. Singh, some things, Srila Prabhupada, and somebody forgets more than others, but we all forget. Dr. Singh, yes, that a principle of material nature. Srila Prabhupada, yes, it is something like stealing. Somebody is a pickpocket and somebody is a bank robber, but both of them are stealing. Dr. Singh, when we dream, we are being carried away by subtle elements. Srila Prabhupada, yes, you are being carried away by nature. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, shloka 27, Prakarte kriyamanani punaya karmani sarvasa ahankara vimudatmaya karhatam iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities that are actually carried out by nature. We forget our real entity because we are under the grip of material nature. The first lesson in spiritual life is that we are not these bodies but eternal spirit souls. Once you were a child, now you are a grown man. Where is your childhood body? That body does not exist, but you still exist because you are eternal. The circumstantial body has changed, but you have not changed. This is a proof of eternality. You remember that you did certain things yesterday and certain things today, but you forget other things. Your body of yesterday is not today's body. Do you admit it or not? You cannot say that today is 13th of May 1973. You cannot say that today is yesterday, the 13th was yesterday, the day has changed, but you remember yesterday, and the remembrance is evidence from your eternality. The body has changed, but you remember it. Therefore, you are eternal. Although the body is temporary, this proof is very simple. Even a child can understand it. Is it difficult to understand? Changing body, Dr. Singh. People want more proof, Srila Prabhupada. But more is required. The eternality of the soul is a simple fact. I am an eternal soul. My body is changing, but I am not changing. For example, I am now an old man. Sometimes I think, oh, I used to jump and play, but now I cannot jump because my body has changed. I want to jump, but I cannot do it. That jumping propensity is eternal, but because of my old body, I cannot do it. Dr. Singh. Opponent will say that according to their observation, the nature of consciousness is that it lasts for only one body. Srila Prabhupada. That is foolishness. In Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 3, Shloka 13, Krishna explains, Dehi no asmin yatha dehe kumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatrana muhoyati. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not built by such a change, just as the body is always changing. As I can see in my daily experience, there is a similar change at the time of death. So we are stopped here. We can stop here. पंचाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यश्च च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। जगद्गुरु श्रीपाद की जय। Thank you for joining everyone. Hare Krishna.